Joining us now is His Excellency Dherar Belhoul Al Falasi, a member of the National Federal Council of the UAE. Thank you so much for being with us. Tell me, what is the strategy in response to last week's attacks on Abu Dhabi? How do you intend to stop it from happening again?
Thank you for having me. I think one thing is important to clarify, the reason that they are doing it, the Houthis and this Hezbollah, because we have some people whose their moral compass is messed up. They think there is a kind of medium-sized or moderate terrorism and there is extremist terrorism. There is nothing called that. There is terrorism is terrorism. And this is what happened. When they removed Al-Houthi from terrorism list, that encouraged them to do it. They tried by kidnapping the vessel Rawabi, which is a civilian vessel carrying let's say a hospital, medical, this one, and they kidnapped it and they refused. Even the UN is unanimously is saying release it. This is the people you are talking with now, Al-Houthi. They don't understand. And this is what I always say. They are a copy of Hezbollah. For UAE is clear. UAE is the same as Israel. The terrorism is terrorism. So what happened is something we will not accept it. We will not tolerate it. And we already hit it back again. And we are going to hit back hardly.
Well, regarding your role in the war in Yemen, will the UAE maintain the policy of backing militias loyal to the Yemeni government? Because the success of those militias in pushing the Houthis out of Shabwa and elsewhere appears to have prompted last week's attacks. Is this strategy just too risky?
And I don't think so. It is risky. It is, because you are talking to someone who is, let's say, his mentality is just terrorism. His mentality is killing people. Now, all the suffering is there in Yemen, all because of the Houthi. Houthi has kidnapped the government, kidnapped Al-Yemen, which is, again, we will come back. It is the same thing happening in Lebanon. Lebanon has been kidnapped and hijacked by Hezbollah. And this is the same thing is happening, has been hijacked from it. So our stand is firmly, we are against this one, and we are backed by UN demand. This is what we said. And by the way, before Al-Hudaydah, the Houthi was refusing to sit down and negotiate. When they felt the pressure, that is, they already almost in Al-Hudaydah, they came back and sat down. And UN, as usual, their way of negotiation, their way of, I don't want to say it, but they are the reason also for this struggle has been a long time. Now, they sat down, and did they implement anything? Nothing. They didn't do anything. In fact, they are doing the opposite way and attacking civilian, forget what happened in UAE. Let's see what they are doing to the people of Yemen. They are attacking schools. Now they cut the cable of internet. Why? Because they don't want people to see and hear what's happening there.
What?
This is a radical terrorism group. It have to go away.
Well, do you think the war in Yemen is winnable? 7 years and counting, there is still no sign of a decisive end. Do you have an exit strategy?
There is no, I think it can be decided if the UN stand by their word, and never interfere. And if you have, like, United States, follow something, we are here, we are fighting terrorism together, and suddenly they are blaming us for everything. This is the problem with the US, always changing their opinion, and this is weakening them also. Now the people start to have some doubt about US. Are they with us or what?
Mm-hmm. Well, 80 people were killed. 80 people were killed in just one airstrike on Friday. Are you concerned about the toll this war is taking on the Yemeni civilians?
Yemeni civilians are already suffering, my dear. They are already suffering. They are already being hurt daily by the Houthi, by killing them, by raping, by using children as a soldier, by using children also and women as a shield. This is old tactics, which is they are doing it. How many times we tried, stop the bombing because they are using school children and putting them in a command area. So this is the tactic, which is they are saying 80 people were killed because of airstrike. Let's find out what is the reason for them being there.
Well, Iran backs the Houthis, and aside from last week's attack, they've also seized one of your ships. How can you justify relations with Tehran when they are behind such aggressive acts against the UAE?
Politics is always politics. I believe still in dialogue you can achieve a lot of things. Iran, we cannot, ignore that. Iran is there. We are there. We will face Iran every day. So I still believe if we sat and negotiate, it will achieve something. But Iran, you have to understand their mentality. They are a chess player. They have, they are ready to negotiate with you and wear you down. This is what happened even in nuclear negotiation. This is the Iran style of negotiation. So when you negotiate with Iran, you have to be patient, and it might take longer, but it might achieve. This is Iranian. We cannot get rid of them because they are already there, but we have to negotiate. We have to sit at a table and discuss. I think by dialogue, everything can achieve. But there is, in Iran, there is a lot of people who believe in war. You don't have to forget that one. You have a Revolutionary Guard, which is, and Al-Quds Brigade, they are mentally and psychologically ready for war, and they don't want any negotiation. So this is Iran.
What are your expectations from the JCPOA talks? Will sanctions relief for Tehran improve the regime's behavior, or is there a risk it might make it worse?
My dear, how long now is Iran is under sanctions?
Many years.
What happened in Iran now? Yeah, Iran now adapted to those sanctions. Iran now, if you can see, they already started negotiating with Russia. Russia want to put the pressure on NATO and America. Started to negotiate also with Iran. China is negotiating with Iran also. How many students is there in China? So everybody is negotiating. Still, I believe in dialogue on the table. It can achieve, but we have to be reasonable. We know Iran, when we know how they negotiate. We have to be ready for them, and we have to have patience, But this is the situation. This is the Middle East. It is always like this, It is always, there is somebody who wants to create a war, So we have to manage. But now we are facing, let me say one thing very important. We have a unanimous decision in the UN and the National Security Council. Today we have a unanimous decision in the Arab League, which is something rare happen, in the Middle East and the Arab League, which it happened in the end. This is a proof that UAE have strong diplomatic policy, and they are pushing it. We have to be patient, and I think we might have a solution soon, with those fanatic, people. We wish that Yemen come back to what we say in Arabic, Al-Yemen Sa'id, which is a happy Yemen, which is now it is miserable Yemen.
Just finally, Iran's drone capabilities are clearly becoming more sophisticated. Will you cooperate more closely with Israel on missile defense? Will you seek the Iron Dome technology that Israel uses?
Why not? By the way, my dear, you think now a terrorist group have ballistic missile And what they're doing now is testing the range of it. Every time they're testing the range, every time they are sending this is their way. And who is teaching them? Iranian and Lebanese from Hezbollah. What is the next? Maybe this is the improvement they do it. They might fire in Israel, next target, Why there is no cooperation? I think there is a cooperation. Israel and UAE have a good relationship. It might develop something.
Your Excellency, thank you very much indeed.
You're welcome.